All right, welcome back, Algebra 2 students, to our final checkpoint for our Unit 2 study guide. We're going to look at problem number 1. Number 1 says the polynomial d of x is equal to x to the power of 3 minus 10x squared plus 3x plus 54 has a known factor of x minus 3. Rewrite as a product of linear factors. So we have two ways of doing this. We can do this the box way, or we can do this the division way. Okay, I'm going to be showing you how to do this with both methods. So this is going to be a pretty long video. However, I'm going to try my best to be as quick as I can. So let's start with the box. For the box, all I know is that I need to have enough space to be able to, whoops, the last one was not good. There we go. I need to have enough space to write my polynomials and my terms here. Perfect. Right here too, right here too, and right here too. It's better to make as many boxes as we can, so we should be fine. So the x minus 3 goes here. X cubed goes here. So what can I multiply to my x to make it an x to the power of 3? In this case, I can multiply by an x to the power of 2. X to the power of 2 times x to the power, times x gives me x to the power of 3. X squared times negative 3, that gives me negative 3x squared. Again, I know that the diagonals are going to add up to each other to give me the negative 10x. So what do I need to add or subtract to negative 3 to make it a negative 10? I need to add a negative 7x squared, right? Because I wanted to have an x squared. So that works there. What do I need to multiply to my x to make it a negative 7x? Well, I need to multiply by a negative 7x. Negative 7x times x, that gives me 7x squared, or negative 7x squared. Negative 7x times negative 3, that gives me a positive 21x. I know that this 21x is going to have to be added to my diagonal, but the total needs to be 3x. So what do I need to add or subtract to 21 to make it a 3? In this case, I'm going to need to subtract, right? Because I need to make the number smaller. So I'm going to subtract by 18. So it's going to be minus 18x. I need to multiply my x by a negative 18 to be able to get my 18x. Negative 18 times negative 3, that gives me a positive 54. You can double check that on a calculator. Is this 54 the same as this 54? Yes, it is. So now we have found our factor. My solution is going to be x squared minus 7x minus 18. But it says to rewrite it as a product of linear factors. Linear means that the highest power can only be an x to the power of 1. I see that I have an x to the power of 2. So I can now use my x method. What two numbers when I add gives me a negative 7, but when I multiply gives me a negative 18. Well, I know 18 can be made with 6 and 3, 9 and 2. In this case, let's try 9 and 2. 9 times 2 gives me positive 18. Okay, I need a negative. So let's make the 9 negative. Negative 9 times 2, that gives me negative 18. Negative 9 plus 2, that gives me negative 7. Okay, that works. So now my factors is going to be x minus 9 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. This right here is my answer since they are linear factors, okay? So I showed you with the box. Now let me show you with the division, okay? So with the division, it's the same process as the box. I'm going to actually leave this right here. So I'm going to say x minus 3 divided by x cubed minus 10x squared plus 3x plus 54. Okay. Sorry if it gets a little sloppy. You know what? Let me make myself a little bit more space by scrolling to the right. So what do I need to multiply my x to get an x cubed? Well, I need an x squared. Whoops, I don't know why it looks funky like that. I need an x squared. X squared times x, that gives me x cubed. X squared times 3, that gives me negative 3x squared. Put it in parentheses, do the minus sign. The x's will get canceled out, and I will get negative 10x squared minus negative 3x squared. That's actually going to turn into a plus sign. So it's going to be negative 7x squared. I bring down the positive 3x, so it's going to be plus 3x. I need to multiply my x by a negative 7x. So negative 7x times x, that's going to give me a negative 7x squared. Negative 7x times negative 3, that's going to give me a positive 21x. I got to put this all in parentheses and subtract. Negative 7x squared minus 7x squared, that turns into a plus, so that means these get canceled out. 3x minus 21x, that's going to be negative 18x. I bring down my 54 plus 54. What do I need to multiply this x by to make it a negative 18x? Well, I need to multiply by a negative 18. Negative 18 times x, that gives me a negative 18x. Negative 18 times negative 3, that gives me a positive 54. Put it in parentheses. I'm going to subtract. Negative 18x minus negative 18x, that becomes a positive, so these get canceled out. 54 minus 54, that gets canceled out, and I'm left with 0. I got my factor here, but is that a linear factor? No, it's not. Luckily for us, we already did the x method on this. The x method is done right here. Once you do the x method, you should come back to your solution. Okay? So that is it for this first video. We're going to do number 2 in a separate video. I'll see you in the next one.